Hey, good evening, Saints fans and Hoodats from all over the world. This is Kyle T. Mosley here with the Bayou Blitz, and I have my co-host. Well, I mean, he's the host. He just pays me on retainer from time to time, but he's a good guy. You know, he has that Bayou Blitz jersey on. I see you there, Bob. Mr. Bob Rose. What's happening?
Not much, Kyle, not much. I hope you and your family are doing well. Everybody tuning in with us on this lovely Wednesday night. I hope you all and your families are doing well too. And listen, everybody said that I think backwards all the time. So I had to go. I had to go with the backwards look for advertisement's sake. But I hope I look all right, and I have two wonderful people with me tonight to take the focus off this lovely face and this backwards personality.
It's all good, Bob. I love it. And look, guys, we have a guest with us. Well, he's not a guest. He's been on with us before. So we're not going to hold it against him that he covers those guys in Carolina from AllPanthers Nation, the great Mr. Schuyler Callahan. What's going on, Schuyler?
How's it going, guys? Thank you for having me on as always. Appreciate you guys and everything you guys do. You guys do great work.
Oh, thank you, buddy. Look, man, you guys be kind to Schuyler, man. He's a good dude, man. So who that to you, Brian? I see you, Brian. Jerry, good evening to you as well. Thank you. All right, guys, look, we're going to go ahead and kind of give you a preview of the New Orleans Saints contest against the Carolina Panthers, which will take place not at Tiger Stadium, but inside the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. We know the bluffing that went on between the city of New Orleans as well as the New Orleans Saints. Everybody was posturing, but everybody knows that the best venue to be able to hold the New Orleans Saints contest as well as the home games is inside the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. And we'll talk a little bit about what happened there, but we're going to dive into what's going to happen with the Carolina Panthers visiting the New Orleans Saints, especially we have Teddy Two Gloves. He's visiting back home in New Orleans. Yeah, I say back home because that's where he should be. It just doesn't look right in that turquoise or whatever you guys have there, Schuyler. But Schuyler, I mean, I looked at the Bears and Panthers game this past weekend. I watched the whole contest, and I was concerned what I saw. It was more like it was an inconsistent performance. And and Bob for a while I say, is this the Saints? No, it wasn't the Saints, but it was Carolina. So what's going on there with those guys right now, Schuyler?
It's just a mixture of things. I think a lot of it had to do with Chicago has a really good defense, and I know that they're 5-1 now, and they're kind of an afterthought, especially in that division with the Packers. But their defense is extremely good. Obviously, having Khalil Mack, Akeem Nicks, there's so many guys on the defense that can make plays. But a lot of it has to do with, I think, just the camaraderie or the lack of camaraderie, I guess you could say. And the chemistry that these guys have, because I think it's starting to show. It's not always going to fire on all cylinders. And really, for the first time, we saw what the Panthers offense really should look like without Christian McCaffrey. The last 3 weeks, they were able to piece together a game plan and kind of find out how to move the ball and score the ball without CMC on the field. And this past week, just kind of a step back. So I think they're going to try and get back to what they were doing the first 3 games that they won before with McCaffrey out, and it starts with protecting Teddy Bridgewater because he was running for his life. It's been every time he stepped back, there was already a guy in his face, and he was having to take off. He had no time to read the defense or go through his progression. So I think it starts up there, and it starts with taking care of the football. Teddy threw 2 interceptions, one which was a really questionable throw, and then Mike Davis fumbled the ball going inside the Bears' red zone. So they got to take care of the ball if they want to have a chance this week.
Yeah. Go ahead, Bob.
Sorry to interrupt, Kyle. And, Schuyler, I wanted to start there with pass protection. Like Kyle mentioned, we got to know Teddy Bridgewater extremely well, for a few years here in New Orleans. And one thing about Teddy is we know that he tends to sail passes when he's under heavy pressure. And, like you pointed out, Schuyler, the Bears are going to pressure everybody. But do you find yourself concerned with the Panthers' pass protection schemes and that skill up front going forward, or do you, because that has been a problem over the last several years, as you know, almost getting Cam Newton killed, or do you think that they fortified that and this Bears game was an exception rather than the rule?
Well, I think you're going to see a lot of ups and downs. This offensive line is really not the line that they envisioned going into the season. They had Dennis Daly slotted at left guard. He's been out with an injury. He's starting to work his way back, but they've had Chris Reed in there who's kind of been up and down. Russell Okung, even though with him being a veteran, he's had some kind of just what the heck moments. Taylor Moton has probably been the most consistent, but again, there's been so many guys that have played on that line. Trent Scott's another guy. They've had 4 guys now go on the COVID list, and this week in particular, they're going to have to try and figure out something because they've got Tyler Larson, which is the backup center. They got Trent Scott, which is a flip-flop guy at either tackle spot. So they're going to have to figure out what to do in terms of depth. Now, when it comes to Teddy Bridgewater and how he does under pressure, I think it's a major concern. He did not respond to it well against Chicago, and I think it was really the first time this season where he's had to kind of play under that pressure. The 2 weeks before that, they didn't give up a single sack. So I think you can see where the Panthers' O-line has the potential to be good because, like I said, they didn't give up a single sack in the 2 games prior. But then when you have a game like this, it really makes you wonder. So we're going to probably see a lot of ups and downs and ebbs and flows until they can get some sort of consistency with those guys up front.
It always starts with the lines, right? And you can see it on both sides of the ball, Saints as well. It started with the line, injuries and some porous and missed tackles and missed assignments and things to that nature. It doesn't matter if it's defense or offensive line. But what concerned me against the Bears was how the defensive line was not performing well as well. What's going on with the guys on the defensive side?
It's basically the same thing. It's just consistency. And I think also not having KK Short out there is going to hurt them. But when you look at when he was on the field, he really wasn't all that productive. He was kind of non-existent. Derek Brown's kind of been, the guy up there up front. Yetur Gross-Matos, second-round pick, has been out with an injury. So they've been battled up front with injuries on the defensive side as well. But when you look at the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season, you could see, even though their sack numbers weren't there, they were getting pressure to the quarterback. They were affecting some throws. Now, it wasn't all the time, but there was a couple of games where they were really getting into the face of quarterbacks and really pressuring. I thought they did a good job of pressuring Matt Ryan. I thought they did a decent job against Justin Herbert. Kyler Murray, I thought was really kind of bottled up all day when they played him. And even though the sacks, again, weren't there against the Bears and Nick Foles, you saw Brian Burns get 3 QB hits. There was a couple of others. I can't remember if Marquise Haynes had one. So the pressure seems to be theirs in a way, but they're not finishing. They've got to find ways to finish those off as sacks or TFLs. And I think it all starts with getting Brian Burns 100% healthy because he has not been that in the last few weeks. And Derek Brown's got to just play not like a rookie.
Okay.
And right there, and like Kyle echoed before about the inconsistencies we've seen with the New Orleans Saints offensive line. We've seen the same thing with the Saints defensive line that you're bemoaning with your Panthers defensive line. But when I was going over my preview, which will come out in the next couple of days, on our network, and looking at the Panthers defense, and I don't think there's any question that Brian Burns is a stud. But like you said, he's banged up. But I've seen very little, at least on paper, production from from the Panthers defensive tackles. They invested really highly in Derek Brown, and I think he's going to be a fantastic player. But outside of him, with K'Wan Short now out of the lineup, do you see anybody that's going to step up and kind of take some of the blocking focus inside off of Derek Brown? Or are those undersized linebackers, Whitehead and Shaq Thompson, going to continue to be left hung out to dry?
It might be the latter, unfortunately. I think you look at the guys left in that room. I think Zach Kerr's played probably above expectations. I mean, he's not lighting the world on fire, but he's been a solid addition. I think maybe F.A. Obata. But again, F.A. Obata, he's got to be a guy that plays, hard every snap. And I think he plays hard every snap, but he doesn't necessarily produce as much as you would like out of those snaps that he does get. And really, when you look at the linebacking play, I think Shaq Thompson's played okay. I think he can play better. And Tahir Whitehead, when you look at the production he's had, and you look at, I don't know if people love Pro Football Focus or not. I don't have an opinion on it, but when you look at Pro Football Focus, he is one of the worst rated linebackers on the season in every category.
Wow.
So when you look at tackles, missed tackles, pass coverage, runs, stuff in the run, he is in like 70s, 80s range. He is down at the very bottom. So Tahir Whitehead has been, I would say, a little bit of a disappointment. And again, Shaq Thompson has to play better. I think he's played okay, but okay is not good enough for this young defense. I think that he has to take that to the next level.
Wow. It's kind of concerning for me. You guys are about to come into the Superdome and face a team that had an extra week to prepare, right? And looks like they're getting their focus back, getting their mojo back. I like to say, looks like Drew Brees getting his groove back. So
perfect timing too.
Yeah, perfect timing. It's like, how do I say it? Early on in the season, the first 4 or 5 games, you had certain teams taking off and kind of shocking people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Seems like now we're starting to see teams come back to earth, and the other teams are starting to, come out of the mixture and rise into the top, so to speak, right? And I think this next 4 to 5 games stretch is going to be very important for teams because I remember early on in the season, Schuyler, you said you were surprised if the Panthers would have at least 4 to 5 wins, right?
Yeah.
And right now they've notched 3 under their belts. Now, the secondary, how do you see those guys? I mean, is you guys always had a young secondary, but do you think you could be able to rise to the occasion? We're still not sure if Michael Thomas is going to play this weekend, right, Bob? From what we've been listening to, not only ankle injury, he may have a hamstring injury. So, but Emmanuel Sanders has been playing pretty lights out recently. How do you guys match up there?
It's going to be interesting because I think you've seen a lot of really high play out of the corners, and sometimes, again, it's the what the heck moments, their miscommunication, just not knowing where they're supposed to be at times. But for the most part, I think they've kind of passed, the expectations, at least from me. Rasul Douglas has been a very, very good pickup for this team. Mm-hmm. He came in, I believe, 3 days before the season started. Went right in. Dante Jackson went down in the first half of that game against the Raiders. He filled in nicely, made a few plays. The thing I noticed about Rasul Douglas, and this goes back to, again, West Virginia guy, covered him back when he was in college. He plays big during big moments. Yeah. Now, is he going to bottle up a guy like Michael Thomas to 5 catches and 40 yards? I don't know about that. But when it comes down to you need a third down stop in the third or fourth quarter, and you're looking towards Rasul Douglas, it's probably not going to end up well. Now, is he a Pro Bowl corner? No. But he's going to end up making the plays more often than not. You look on the other side, Dante Jackson, the dude's got the talent. It's so frustrating, I think, because you see the speed that he has, especially you guys know Dante Jackson, I'm sure, a lot because of his days at LSU. That dude can straight out fly. And I think he's got the capability of being a number 1 corner on the Carolina Panthers. So he just got to take that game to the next level. And I don't know that there's a shutdown corner on this team. It's more of a by committee type of deal. But I think what also helps the Panthers is you have a guy like Jeremy Chen who just plays literally almost every position on the defense except for defensive line. And he's so versatile. He can stuff the run. He can play the pass well. He's good in man coverage, good in zone coverage. He plays a lot of nickel. I think he has been really the lone bright spot of that defense. And right now, I mean, he could make the Pro Bowl the way he's playing.
Wow. All right, Bob, any questions?
Well, and I'm with you, Schuyler. I like the pieces that the Panthers have in the defensive backfield. And I'm just waiting for it to come together because, like you said, there's a lot of young players back there. But what I'm curious of, to hear from you, I'd love to hear what you find most surprising about the Panthers so far after 6 games on both sides of the ball, on offense and defense, either pleasantly surprising or otherwise.
Okay, so we'll start offensively. I'll go with the ability to still move the ball without McCaffrey. I think that's pretty obvious. Mike Davis has come in and, I'll admit this. I may have said this on your guys' show before, or I can't remember, but Mike Davis was someone I was not very comfortable with as the second running back on this team coming into the season. I wrote about it multiple times saying the Panthers need to go out and find somebody. Heck, Devontae Freeman on a 1-year cheap deal. Somebody. They needed to go out and get somebody, and Mike Davis has proven me wrong big time. Now he's dinged up, so now that we're going to really see what Joe Brady is about, because if he is 50% or is unable to go, now you're going to have to deal with either Trent McCannon back there, who's also got a neck injury right now. So they're going to be putting guys that have never played running back probably back there pretty soon. But I think Joe Brady and just kind of his way of still piecing things together. Again, he's only 6 games into his job here at Carolina, but from what he's put together, he's going to be a head coach someday. I don't know if it's going to be in the next 3-4 years, but down the line, Joe Brady's going to be an NFL head coach if he wants to be. And I think just the ability to piece things together without Christian McCaffrey and still get that offense going. Now, the disappointing thing, they're able to move the ball. It's been the red zone offense that has really hurt this team, especially against the Chargers, where they had to have Joey Slye come in and kick 5 field goals essentially for them to win the game. So they have to get better in the red zone if they want to win more games, especially against New Orleans. They're not going to be able to make trips down there and settle for 3 and try and think that they're going to be in this game.
Yeah.
Defensively, I would say that the pass defense has been, again, a little bit above expectations. Run defense has been abysmal at times, and that just makes a guy like Alvin Kamara just have wide eyes.
And Latavius Murray, man.
Yeah, and
Murray has come close to kicking off some big runs, but gets tripped up just at the end, right? Here's my concern also. I saw Mike Davis. He lost the fumble, but later in the game, they were looking at his ankle. Is he okay?
As of right now, I think he's going to be able to go. He was a full participant today, so I think that the trend is definitely heading in the right direction. Definitely a serious injury, because like I said, if he's out or if he is not 100%, it's going to make this team one-dimensional, and that's not the one dimension that you want to go in. I love Teddy Bridgewater. I think he's a great quarterback, but let's be honest here. He's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not a Tom Brady where you can live and die off of Teddy Bridgewater's arm.
Okay. Well, I got to ask about Bob's best friend, Eli Apple.
I feel sarcasm coming.
What's going on with Eli, man?
Eli's a tough one to solve. He's had a hamstring injury, and then he had another injury. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head. And then he came back, and they were getting ready to play him, and then he injured his other hamstring. So he has just been having one heck of a time trying to get on the field. He was back in practice today, full go. But I don't know really how much of an impact he's going to have this week or really in the coming week or two. I really think they like Rasul Douglas. They like Dante Jackson, Troy Pride, the rookie out of Notre Dame. Those are the guys that they've been riding with to this point. They've played decent, so I think they're going to ride with those guys and try to maybe slowly work in Eli.
Eli is an enigma, right? So,
yeah.
He's with the Giants, with us,
in the Panthers uniform.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Eli, man. Okay. We got a couple of questions they want to throw at you. Let's see here. Oh no, that's not for us.
No.
Eli is hurt. Oh, okay. Here he is. Are you impressed with Robbie Anderson's play with Bridgewater?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's top 10, top 5 in some categories in the league, and I think he's kind of taken everybody by storm. And I talked to him today, and I asked him, "Is your confidence at an all-time high?" Because it seems like he's just playing like in a different gear. And he told me, "Yeah." And this was funny because he didn't really want to throw any shade towards Adam Gase or the Jets, but he basically said, "I'm not trying to look back, but the opportunity I'm in now, they're giving me a chance to show that I'm more than just a deep ball threat." And I think that was really the label about Robbie Anderson coming in, is he's just the guy that's going to take the top off the defense. But he comes in to this Matt Rule, Joe Brady system, and it's a lot of underneath stuff in the intermediate game, and he's just carving people up. I think, honestly, he's on a short-term deal, but if he continues at this rate, you may see Robbie Anderson get a huge payday.
I think so as well. I think, Bob, you wrote about it that the Saints could have targeted trying to get Anderson. And I really liked his abilities when he was with the Jets, even when he was on a pitiful team. He was one of the lone bright spots here and there for those guys. But I think Brady is kind of using him as LSU used Justin Jefferson, so to speak, Yeah. And he's making those catches too, man. Oh, man. I saw, was it 2 weeks ago, that catch along the sideline? I didn't know how he got it into him, and he caught the ball. So good stuff, man. Paul T wants to know, what are you missing with Ron Rivera no longer coaching?
That's a tough question. I think really there's not really a whole lot of difference in terms of Ron Rivera and Matt Rule, because they're both family-oriented guys. Players love both of these guys. And they're both intelligent coaches. And when you look at, I guess, Rivera, he's known as a gambler. And I think that's probably maybe the one major difference that I've noticed from fans, that they say, they miss, the aggressive play calls in no matter what area of the field it is, no matter what time of the game it is. But we've seen Matt Rule do a little bit of that too. We've seen him go 4th and 1 on his own 35 in the first half. I mean, we've seen stuff like that. So I don't know that there's a whole lot missed about Rivera. I mean, a lot of people miss him. Of course, he's a great guy, great head coach. Wish him the best, especially in prayers up to him as well for what he's going through. But I think Matt Rule is the guy for the job. And I think, unfortunately, it was just time for a new chapter for the Carolina Panthers. And I think that Matt Rule is the perfect guy to write that book.
Okay, good stuff. Schuyler, I think, how do you see these guys defensively holding up on the outside with the cornerbacks? You talked a little bit about those guys, and how do you think they actually match up well with the Saints wide receivers?
I honestly don't think they match up extremely well. I mean, even if Michael Thomas doesn't go, you still have to worry about Emmanuel Sanders first and foremost. And there's just, let's just put it this way: the Saints have so many options that can kill you, and I don't know that the Panthers have enough guys. Again, they have 3 guys: Troy Pride, Rasul Douglas, and Dante Jackson. Dante Jackson's banged up, so you're really relying on almost 2.5 guys. There's not much of a rotation there. I could easily see this game getting out of hand by the middle of the third quarter if Carolina can't keep the guys in front of them. Now, what I will say is Phil Snow is an extremely smart defensive coordinator, because if you watch what he does, he knows he doesn't have the talent to really be a playoff team right now. So to compensate for that, he doesn't want to get beat by the deep ball. No explosive plays. He'll drop 7, 8 guys almost every single play. He does not bring a lot of pressure, which is probably why when you look at the pressure stats and the sack stats, they're not really that great because they're dropping so many guys. And he's going to just say, you know what, if you want to beat us, you're going to have to throw the ball and just try and run after the catch. That's not going to happen with the deep ball. So I think if they continue to let the Saints, if they let the Saints go underneath, I think they have a chance. But if they start taking shots down the field with Michael Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders, this thing's going to get really, really bad.
It's kind of funny, though, Bob, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but that's where the Saints have really been making their living, is the underneath, when teams give them that ability to keep going down the field, moving the ball down the field, especially with the situation with Drew trying to develop chemistry without Michael Thomas being in the fold. But he has taken a little bit more shots the past couple of games down the field. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I was going to ask you about that, Schuyler. When the Panthers defense has had success, mainly under the Rivera regime in the past, it's because they've gotten pressure on Drew Brees, with those fierce defensive tackles that they used to have. So I was going to ask you, do you see them going into this Saints game with the same kind of laid back defensive game plan that they've had through 6 games? Or do you think that they're going to try to change it up, wanting to rush Brees and get a lot of pressure on him instead?
I mean, I think they'd like to, but I just don't think they have the personnel to do it. I think Phil Snow realizes that, and that's why they've kind of gone to this, kind of conservative, keep everything in front of you type of defense. I think they're going to try and, just let Brian Burns try and do his thing. Say, hey, try and go get the quarterback. If you don't get him, at least get a quarterback hit, rough him up. But I don't think that they have the ability to really risk bringing 6-7 guys on a blitz, because if you do, you're leaving those corners who are prone to get beat from time to time, out there on an island. And I just don't like that matchup. So I think he wants to keep those guys back, give them a little help. And you got to think, without KK Short, I don't know that Phil's confidence has grown at all. So I think he's going to rely on those guys in the back end to kind of help those guys up front.
Now, how about offensively? I mean, obviously Teddy Bridgewater knows this defensive personnel in New Orleans very, very well. Two terrific. We talked about Robbie Anderson. We haven't talked about DJ Moore, who I love to death. And that's the Saints' biggest problem this year has been in their own secondary. Miscommunication, just flat out lazy play, to be honest, and crippling penalties. So how do you see Carolina attacking the New Orleans defense?
Well, it's going to be an interesting game plan, because I think a lot of it's again going to determine, is Mike Davis 100% or close to it. If he's not, then I honestly don't know where they go. How much of a factor can Trenton Cannon be? And do you give him 10 carries? I mean, that's a completely different story. But we'll just go with Mike Davis being healthy. I think you'll see a lot of similar stuff to what we've seen, or what we did see in those 3 wins. You're going to see them run the football physically in between the tackles, but you're also going to see a lot of checkdowns to Mike Davis in the passing game. And he's going to get 8 or 9 targets out of the passing game. That's just what this offense does. Even if it's Mike Davis, Christian McCaffrey, or heck, even Trenton Cannon. I mean, that's the schematics of this offense. They want to get the ball into the hands of those guys. And again, Curtis Samuel missed last week. Things are not looking, I would guess, great. He didn't practice today. I don't know that he's going to play this week. And if you have Curtis Samuel out, you're going to have to really rely on DJ Moore to kind of step up his game, which I think he has over the last 2 weeks, but he's got to kick it into the next gear and kind of match what Robbie Anderson's done.
Good stuff. The Saints are now, is it 47 or 48 game streak as far as limiting a 100-yard plus yard rusher. So I think the battle up front with our front 7 against Mike Davis would be the issue, to be able to help those guys. And knowing Teddy Bridgewater, he really, like you say, he really would need to have Mike Davis in order to do some play action fakes, right? So any other keys last before you get off, Schuyler?
Well, I think really for Carolina to win, like I said, they've got to take care of the football first and foremost. They cannot afford to give Drew Brees and that offense extra possessions because it's just not going to end well. They're already talented enough. They don't need extra chances to get the ball and score. And then secondly, red zone offense and third down offense. That's something that, at times has really plagued this team, holding them to only 3 points instead of 7. They've got to figure out that 4-point play that gets them into the end zone. And again, the third and most, I would say, important key of the game is protect Teddy Bridgewater, because if he has no chance to throw the ball down the field, it's going to be almost a resemblance of what we saw a week ago against Chicago. And New Orleans defense may have to this point may have not played their best football, but they're going to get going as the season goes on. And I just don't know that, Teddy Bridgewater is going to be able to take a beating and this team survive. So we'll see what happens. But actually, I'll throw a fourth one in there. Fourth one, and I think this is the most critical point for Carolina. If they want to win this game, they have to keep the ball in their own hands. I think you've seen that a couple of times during their wins where they just milked the clock in the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. Those 3 wins, they had the lead going into the fourth quarter and just absolutely drained that thing. So that's the key for Carolina. Keep this game within a 1-score reach or have the lead going into the fourth, which is going to be tough. But if they have the lead going into the fourth, I actually like Carolina's chances to steal a win because they know how to drain the clock with Teddy Bridgewater. He's a great game manager. And I know he's labeled as that. He's much more than that, but he knows how to manage the clock.
Okay. And one last question. This is a very good question from Paul T. How good are the Carolina tight ends? That has been one of the biggest weaknesses of the New Orleans Saints, especially their safeties and nickel guys have done not a great job covering the tight ends. You saw how I did that, right, Bob? You saw Go ahead.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. Ian Thomas and Chris Manhertz are not O.J. Howard or Rob Gronkowski. So we'll start there. Ian Thomas has been, I would guess, underwhelming for a lot of people. For me, I've never really saw it with Ian Thomas. They said that he was going to be, kind of the successor to Greg Olsen, and he's going to be still a vital piece of the passing offense. And I've been saying it, you go back to his days at Indiana, he was not a high-volume guy in the passing game. He has not translated, anything really – or he has not taken his game to the next level in any certain point, whether it's receiving, run blocking, anything, pass protection. His hands are okay at best. And Chris Manhertz, I will say this. I think Chris Manhertz is one of the better blocking tight ends in the league, but that's probably all you're really going to get out of Chris Manhertz. So when it comes to the tight ends, I don't think that New Orleans is going to have to worry too much about what they do on Sunday.
Man, I hope you're right. I am a fan of Manhertz as a blocker. He spent a short time with New Orleans actually at the beginning of his career. But Ian Thomas has the type of athleticism that scares me. But you're right. When I was looking at the Carolina film, really their only 3 pass threats are obviously Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore. And like you pointed out, even without McCaffrey out of the backfield, we know how deadly he is. But Mike Davis has been really effective in the pass game, which I think a lot of other analysts on our end have actually overlooked.
Yeah, that's been a real big surprise, right? A lot of people didn't have Davis being a receiving running back. And I think, who was I listening to? Was it NFL Network? Talk to Mike Davis about that and talk how he and McCaffrey were kind of sharing some tips, and that's how he really got his receiving game under the tips from McCaffrey. All right, Schuyler, man, I really do appreciate it. You'll have my tidbits for your article on tomorrow morning. But, dude, how do you see this game? What's your prediction?
This is going to be a brutal one, I think, for Carolina. I think New Orleans is going to come out. They're going to take shots early, even though that, like you guys said, that's not typically been their offense this year. I think they know the deficiencies of this Panthers defense. I think they're going to want to try and come out, establish a lead, and kind of sit on it. And then I think really for Carolina, again, like I said, there's four keys: protect Teddy Bridgewater, red zone efficiency, playing to milk the clock or play ball control, and play clean football. I don't know that they can establish all four of those. I think they need to at least do three of those to win, and I only see maybe one happening. So I'm going to go New Orleans 31 and Carolina 20. So we'll go 31-20, a late touchdown to make it look a little bit better.
Well, we shall see, man. I always say that for everything, because the Saints have a way of making teams that they should dominate look like world beaters. So it's just something about our team. But Schuyler, tell everybody how they can follow you on the World Wide Web.
Absolutely. You guys can follow me personally on Twitter at Callahan_. You can follow our website's Twitter handle at SI_Panthers. And then you can go check out all of our content at www.si.com/NFL/Panthers. We've got a lot of stuff previewing the Panthers and the Saints this week, a lot of stuff from the head coach and players as well. Get Joe Brady and Phil Snow tomorrow, so we'll have some stuff from the coordinators there too. So be sure to check all that stuff out, and we'll hope to see you guys here soon.
All right, man. Thank you, Schuyler. Appreciate your analysis. Thank you so much for everything. Dude, if you ever need something from me, you know how to reach me, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. Again, you guys are great what you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Schuyler. You've been great too.
Yeah, we'll see you again when we visit Carolina.
Yes, sir.
We'll be here.
Okay, buddy. Take care. All right. That was good, man. That was Schuyler Callahan from AllPanthers, from our affiliate at Sports Illustrated. And Schuyler also covers the West Virginia Mountaineers. Mm-hmm. Mountaineers, right? Yeah, Mountaineers for Sports Illustrated as well. So
yeah, and he does great work. I've read a lot of his West Virginia stuff. And obviously, you and I follow his Panthers stuff, Kyle. Considering that they're a rival, and he is a terrific writer. So Saints fans, if you're tuning in with us, Schuyler gave us some great information. But make sure hopefully you're following us too. But make sure you give him a follow, because he does good work, and he kind of gives you a scouting report on what to expect from Carolina twice a year.
Yeah, he shared some good intel with me this morning, and I'm going to post that in an article for you guys on tomorrow. So you'll take a look at that. It's going to be, I think it's Intel with the Enemy or something like that, so nice. We'll see. All right, Bobo, got some stuff to talk about. Okay. All right, look, man, Bob, what's going on with Michael Thomas?
Man, I don't know.
He's on, off? Sean Payton didn't want to commit to him playing. Then he comes in and says he has a hammy now. What's going on?
Hey, Kyle, I'm beginning to worry a little bit. I won't lie. First and foremost, let's be real. If I had an extra 20 in my wallet, I would bet it on Michael Thomas playing this Sunday. But I wouldn't bet my next month's rent on it, because things are starting to get really inconsistent here. And I'm not pointing the finger at Mike. I'm not pointing the finger at Sean. I'm not pointing the finger at anybody. But every week it seems to be something new, and that has to worry you, especially if you're an NFL historian, even of recent NFL history, and the names like Odell Beckham, Terrell Owens, Keyshawn Johnson, Jalen Ramsey, and Antonio Brown start coming to mind. And this is how all of their downfalls began. And yeah, I say downfall even with Odell, because he talked his way out of a good situation in New York. And this is how it began with those guys. It just started to be something new every single week, a different drama. And I hope that it is just, Michael Thomas might be still a little bit sore, his leg. I said it going into the Charger game. even before the fight that got him suspended for that game. I didn't think he was going to play that week anyway. I thought they were going to rest him one more week or one more game, thus resting him an extra 2 weeks, because we know, Kyle, how tricky high ankle sprains can be, and they can trickle upward in the leg. They can cause hamstrings or quad injuries. And hopefully maybe he was just experiencing a little bit of soreness. It is only Wednesday after all, and a lot of other Saints veterans did get the day off. So that part is normal. But if Michael Thomas is still a limited participant or isn't practicing by Friday, man, I'm gonna want to know what's up on both sides. How worried are you?
I don't know if word is the correct feeling or thought process I have. I think it's puzzling. That's a better vernacular here, because of the fact when in the media call, when coach would not commit to Thomas playing, and then get the report it's a hamstring issue. Now, let's be fair. If you have sat out for a while, right, and haven't really been practicing full speed, hamstrings can possibly happen, right?
Okay.
So let's play devil's advocate. We're going into the trade deadline coming up pretty soon, right? And we know we've heard names being floated around the NFL already for targets for trade possibilities here and there. Odell, of course, I think he's on the market again. Antonio Brown's name has resurfaced about coming back into the league, but he's not coming to the Saints. We know that. But I'm just saying this. It just appears to me that either there's still some more issues going on that we're not privy to. And Jeff Duncan was pretty telling last week when he visited with us about this has been a long-term problem.
Yep.
That now the public is being shared the information with. So let me set this up for you guys, and I want to hear from you guys out there, like Paul T, DJ, all you guys. DJ, I see you say trade possibility. I'm trying to just set this up because of the history of what we have seen before with the organization. One, if it was a problem before, why are we hearing about it just now? That's a question that I had. Two, are we at a point where this is not salvageable, right? And I don't know if we are at that point. And the only reason why I'm saying this is that giving up in the middle of the season on a player of his caliber, could that come back to haunt you?
Yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
That's all I'm saying. Because I think if we kept Jimmy Graham and worked out some of the whatever problems they had underneath the table, Jimmy Graham could be on his way to the Hall of Fame.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay? And I don't want to always keep on giving up on talented players who, Paul T, I see you say he's a head case. All right. Let's say he is a head case. You got to win the Super Bowl this year.
Yep.
That's all I'm saying. And head case or not, the only other head case out there no, I'm sorry. Only other talent out there that you would say can give that team that possibility would be Odell Beckham.
No, I don't agree with that. Listen,
So you're saying if they trade Thomas, what do you get for him?
Yeah, you're gonna if you trade a player like Michael Thomas, it's not going to be a player for player deal, at least on the same caliber. You trade a player like Michael Thomas, it's going to be for, especially during the season, it's going to be for draft picks. And we've seen it time and time again. With different organizations and different players, even with players that aren't even close to the talent level of Michael Thomas. If you trade Michael Thomas, it's to dump salary secondarily, but primarily it is because you have reached a point of no return with player versus either coach or player versus front office. And like you said, Kyle, we don't really have a clear indication of what's going on, so we can only speculate or play devil's advocate. And that's where, and the media on different levels, national, local, our level, we get a lot of shade thrown our way because we write the type of articles that deal with discussions exactly like this. But we have to do that because the discussions need to be had, folks. Michael Thomas and his camp, the player is never going to be clear with what's going on. The coach is rarely going to be clear with what's going on. Unless there's something in black and white. And we know that the Saints coach Sean Payton doesn't put anything to us or out in the public in black and white. And there's a lot of moving parts with this situation. Like Kyle just pointed out, ladies and gentlemen, Michael Thomas is such a key part of this offense. We've seen it for the previous 3 years. Do I rule out a trade? Absolutely not. But it could be exactly at face value. Like Kyle pointed out, it is not unusual. In fact, it's not only not unusual, it's very common for a player that's had to go very easy or even off altogether for a few weeks in a row, a skill position player that cuts a lot, that runs at full speed a lot, and a lot of starts and stops. If you have an ankle or a knee injury that you're coming back from, the next thing to happen always is going to be a hamstring. So again, this is one day and one practice. And Kyle, correct me if I don't know whether Thomas was just a merely limited participant or whether he sat out altogether. But you look at the Saints injury list that we published on SI.com earlier today, and you look at the names on there, and there were Teron Armstead and a couple defensive players that also did not practice. So Wednesday is a very normal day for veterans to take it easy. And, like you also said, Kyle, Sean likes to play games with the media and the public. There's no secret about that, and a lot of times he likes to play it coy. They're going up against a division rival, Carolina, who knows New Orleans extremely well, even with their coaching change. So if you can keep something under your hat, like, oh, I don't know, is my star receiver going to come back or is he not? Or is he not going to be at full strength?
Yeah.
Are we putting that past Sean Payton? Absolutely not.
Yeah, that's Bill Parcells' tactics, sure. Right? So based upon what we read, and I know Nick Underhill put out the hammy part about Thomas, right? So he was limited. He was in practice. It was good to see him back in practice, but also another guy was good to see was Justin Hardy. But let's go back to Michael Thomas. As far as I can ascertain, Bob, I just think this is a bunch of hullabaloo. I really think it really has to come down to he's going to have to be limping on one leg for him not to play in this game. I don't believe we're at a point of trading Thomas unless something else happened. He wouldn't have been in that building if something else happened. That's what
Exactly.
So I don't see trade. I don't think that's a part of it. And I really believe that if anything would happen, it's not going to happen during the season. it would have to be something drastic to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, guys, if you're on the Crescent City connection right now, it's okay. You can come down. Hopefully, we talked you down. Okay. All right. Let's talk a little bit about Cam Jordan. Talked about the past couple of weeks, last press conference, as well as the one I heard him in today, how Trey Hendrickson has been getting some of the single one-on-ones. Some of the teams are now respecting the fact that he is now at 4.5 sacks on the season.
Mm-hmm.
I think he is trailing a couple of guys by a couple sacks, right? He would be up there on the top. Cam has been getting more of those double teams, right? And I noticed even when he was double teamed in the Chargers game, meaning Marcus Davenport, he just bull rushed both of those guys.
Yeah.
To get to Herbert, right? So the Saints have a good problem. You have a guy who's regaining his health, who we need to see on the field, and you have a guy who is balling out with his opportunity to be on the field more. So where do we go? We still haven't heard much from Mr. Granderson as well. Do you think this is something that is going to be an issue down the line in case Davenport gets to be more healthier and more dominant? Do we see less of Trey Hendrickson? What would you do, Bob?
Well, first and foremost, I like the way the Saints used Davenport in his first game back last week. I think Marcus only played about 18, 20, maybe 22 defensive snaps. So in other words, they limited him. They didn't throw him right out into the fire. That's one of the reasons for that is because Trey Hendrickson has played so well. And I don't care. Cam did say that Trey is getting a lot of single blocking, as he should, because Cam is going to draw double teams. Rankins is going to draw double teams. Onyemata is going to draw double teams. So Hendrickson is doing his job and then some. But like you pointed out, Marcus Davenport played so well last week or week before last against the Chargers, and he is a player that you have to account for in double teams. So yeah, I would expect to see the same thing. You can't take Trey Hendrickson off the field at this point. A, Marcus Davenport hasn't showed you he could stay healthy, and B, Hendrickson has earned snaps with his play, but as long as Davenport holds up and gets, if he gets stronger and stronger and continues to play well, yeah, I do think that he's going to take more and more snaps away from Trey Hendrickson as the season goes along. Because you look at the sheer abilities of those two players, and honestly, and this is no disrespect to you, Trey, if you're watching, because I love your effort, but Marcus Davenport, physical ability wise. He is that rare combination of power, speed, and athleticism that you need to have on the field. Dennis Allen is going to be challenged because again, you want to have Cam Jordan. Cam Jordan is going to be on the field. You want to have a healthy Marcus Davenport on the field, and you want to have a Trey Hendrickson been playing so well, and really arguably your best defensive player. You want to have him on the field. So it is a good problem to have. So Kyle, is it going to create drama down the road? No, I don't think so. But it's going to be very interesting to watch. And we know John Hendricks puts out a snap counts piece after every week. It's going to, assuming Davenport stays healthy, which is always a huge assumption with that young man. It's going to be very interesting to see the snap counts as these weeks start to progress.
Yeah. Guys, I think it's a great problem to have. My old VP would always say, I'm always interviewing somebody for your position, Kyle. So I'm like, yeah. But bottom line is, we know what happens in the league, and we still have 11 more games to play, right? you never know what's going to happen. You never know when an injury is going to occur. You never know when you can never have enough edge rushers.
No.
You can never, ever have enough of those guys. So if Henderson is balling out, let him keep on balling. Respect, and I got to agree with you, Paul T. Respect this game, give him a chance. That's fine. That's dandy. Get healthier, Davenport, because I'm telling you, down the stretch is when they're going to need the presence of Marcus Davenport.
Oh gosh, yeah. And I mean, Kyle, how many times over the years have we seen even a good Saints defense just get gassed on a key fourth quarter drive, where you needed a pass rush, to shut down a potential game tying or game winning drive in the fourth quarter of a late season or a playoff game. And now you have guys like, we're sitting here talking. We're not even talking about Carl Granderson, and he had such a fantastic start to the season. So yeah, you're going to need every single one of these guys. And the healthier they are, the better. But if you can go 4 deep at edge rusher, 5 deep, really, Cam Jordan, Marcus Davenport, Trey Hendrickson, Carl Granderson, and if Zach Vaughn comes along, he's going to be a factor too. Gosh almighty, you're going to need all of those guys, late in the season, and in a crucial moment when you need to get an opposing quarterback on the ground.
Yeah, you saw how they ran that stunt with Demario Davis against the Chargers. That really was a good play call by Dennis Allen there. All right, Paul T, good question. Who is better on 3rd and long, Davenport or Hendrickson? Right now, you have to say who.
Right now, I'd still say Davenport because of his physical ability. But Hendrickson just has that nonstop motor. Because, your example, Paul, was on 3rd and long. And on 3rd and long, we usually see what? We usually see especially with Dennis Allen, we usually see those defensive backs drop off, and him to rush 4 guys. So when you're in that kind of situation, you're asking your defensive backs to keep the play in front of them. But when the quarterback has more time to throw, and especially if it's a quarterback that can move so well, like Justin Herbert last week, Teddy Bridgewater this week, a guy with a nonstop motor like Hendrickson. How many sacks have we seen Hendrickson get? When he's been blocked or knocked to the ground once, twice, and he keeps getting up and fighting through blocks. Those are the kind of guys that will bring your court. We hear announcers talk about it all the time. Well, that was a coverage sack, and credit to the defensive secondary on those plays. But the kind of guys that are always getting those kind of sacks is a guy like Trey Hendrickson with that nonstop motor. But again, as far as physical abilities, when you sit the 2 side by side, Trey and Marcus, Marcus just has that physical ability with it. Well, it causes a team to trade 2 first-round draft choices, to move up in the draft to get you.
Okay, I agree. I saw one writer this morning. I can't recall if it's Bleacher Report or not who that dish. It was whoever. No, CBS Sports. That's who it was. They said that the Saints should trade for Ryan Kerrigan of the Washington Redskins. He's much of the same player as Hendrickson, right?
Yes, he is. Yeah, he is. And I love Ryan Kerrigan, and we have seen him torture Drew Brees on a few different times throughout his career. But again, that I don't consider edge rusher a weakness on the New Orleans Saints right now. And there's no doubt that even our network is probably going to do a few trade possibility pieces as we lead up. But Kyle, well, my opinion is I would be shocked to see the Saints make any significant move at the trade deadline, either trading away a player or trading for a player. Especially with this off season. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. I'm with you. I'm listening to you, everything you're saying. All right. So just in case, Bob, let's just say for the sake of it all, who do we trade? Do we trade somebody or we trade for someone? Do we give a draft pick or is there a player out there that we would need? Is there a position, if a guy came available, let's get that person?
You got to look at the defensive backfield, specifically the cornerback position. And again, when Marshawn Lattimore and Janoris Jenkins are healthy, there's no two better. But we've seen Lattimore dinged up. We've seen Janoris miss the last 2 games. We have seen Lattimore play very erratically when he is on the field. So I would still, and this is the position that I've been crying about since February. I don't see it happening. Not a significant move anyway. But if the Saints are going to make any kind of move, they're going to trade for a player. And I wish for it to be at a position of need, which defensive backfield generally and the cornerback position specifically.
Okay. I agree. I posed that question to our fans out there in the Saints News Network on Twitter, and defensive back was number 1 position on the defensive side to trade for. And on the offensive side, let me get this correct. I don't want to lie on you guys. I think it was what? Tight end?
I thought it was wide receiver. I know the votes were close.
Yes, wide receiver. Wide receiver. Correct.
How do you feel about that part, Kyle? About the vote going towards wide receiver? Could you see the Saints making a move there?
I disagree with it. I think the move, in my opinion, I think the Saints need to find someone else who could be able to catch and block the ball. I mean, and one guy's name that came out, but these guys are still competitive right now because Dallas doesn't look really like they're going to take control of the NFC East, even though Philadelphia had a heartbreaking loss this past week as well, but they did make a game of it toward the end. What's his name? Ertz is a good player. I mean, is that a guy that we could take a look at as a possibility to trade for, to complement with Mr. Cook? It was kind of telling to me that the young kid out of Dayton was a healthy scratch for this game, and they decided to promote Garrett Griffin to the active roster to help with the blocking assignment. So what does that mean? Is it that Adam is he injured? We don't know about. It's not on the report, right? Is it that they're unhappy with some of his previous blocking abilities in games? What's going on there? Because everything that Drew has pretty much thrown to him, he has caught. So I don't know. That was a curious move by the Saints there. So is there another tight end? Anyone else that the Saints could possibly key on, right? I don't know if we need another wide receiver. You have the emerging talents, like I wrote, of Marquez Callaway. Look, one thing about Callaway that people may be overlooking is that what I saw on the return side was his vision.
Yeah.
Think about that, Bob. It's very difficult when these guys are coming down the field and your guys are set up blocks, but you also have to have that anticipation and feel for, if this block goes here, I will do this, or I can feel it moving here, or I need to go here. Returning the football is a mental thing. The thing that goes on with Deontay Harris that makes him so dynamic is his speed, right? But what I saw from Callaway was his ability to set up, and he was patient enough to set up some of the blocks as well, or wait for the blocks to set up in front of him. Paul T says the Troutman may be having issues with the playbook. Okay, might be.
Maybe.
Might be, the Jets are giving away people. Do they have any decent corners over there, Bob?
No, they don't. No, they don't. They have, and they traded a linebacker today to the San Francisco 49ers. They traded a defensive lineman to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday. So I'd have to look again. The Jets did have, coming into the year, the Jets did have some pieces on the defensive front seven. That would be interesting. But again, that's where the Saints' strength is. New York is not good in the secondary. Next to maybe Sam Darnold, who I'd offer a day 3 pick for. They have 0 pieces on the offensive side.
Darnold?
Yeah, on a day 3 pick, fourth round, 5th round, yeah,
7th round pick.
Yeah. I mean, if the Jets are offering a fire sale, Sean Payton, Mickey Loomis, pick up the phone right now, say, hey, we'll give you a 6th round pick for him. See what they say.
Mr. Johnson, I don't understand 2 owners and general managers. The Bengals, Mr. Brown, and Mr. Johnson over in the Jets. I don't get these guys, man. I don't understand their conservative ways of handling contracts, and I don't understand how you keep a 0-5 coach. How do you do that, Bob?
That the play, I mean, it's one thing to be 0-5. It's another thing to be 0-5, and your players publicly begging to get out of New York because of that coach specifically. And for 2 years, over 2 years, 2 years now.
2 years now.
So this isn't something that's popped up in the last 2 weeks. This has been 2 years.
See, that's the belligerence of some of these owners.
Mm-hmm.
I know what I'm doing. And look, you're hurting that team, man. How in the world you have a team in the most populous city in America, one of the most popular cities in America, and you are producing an 0-5 shutout, so to speak, against the Winds? Mm-hmm. And look, guys, and I'm making light of it, but it is a situation where Mr. Brown and Mr. Johnson, they typically do not want to be able to have media have pressure from outside influences to tell them how to run their clubs. And as a result, being in that nature, they usually continue making the wrong decisions. I think they kept coach too long over at the Bengals, because of his relationship with them, until they finally released him a couple of years ago. And I think Gase, I don't even understand why they hired him, to be honest with you. Right?
No.
He was a disaster down south, but you hired him up there. And I don't get it.
Well, and I'll tell you,
and you did not even interview any minority candidates.
No.
I don't get it. I don't get it, man. So we'll see. Troutman having issues with the playbook. Any updates on Dante Harris, Bob?
I heard he was back at practice today. I think he was listed on the injury report, but I thought I saw that he was a full participant. But listen, if Dante can't go, like you pointed out, and I pointed out this last week too, in the Chargers post game, I was so pleasantly surprised with the way Marquez Callaway played, not only a receiver but a returner too. He averaged 12 yards per punt return, and that's even after having 2 long ones called back by questionable penalties.
Yeah, right.
And also, for those that are wanting the Saints, hoping the Saints will trade for a wide receiver, consider this. It does take a long time to learn Sean Payton's playbook. You ask Adam Troutman now, or you ask Emmanuel Sanders now. But beyond that, we're looking at getting Michael Thomas back healthy at some point, right? You have Emmanuel Sanders, who's been on fire. Traquan Smith is finally developing into at least a trusted target. And you have the emergence of Marquez Callaway and the open field ability of Dante Harris, who I still don't think the Saints use nearly enough at wide receiver. This is not a need for the team right now. Keep an eye on Dante Harris's health. But they can afford, if he is not 100%, they can't afford to bring him back a little bit more slowly because of Callaway.
Let's say there was a guard that was available. Would you consider bringing a guard as extra, like an insurance policy, just in case? Because Nick is nicked up.
He is nicked up, but I believe it's a concussion. So even if he is not good to go this game, it's not a long-term injury. At least you certainly hope not, for the health of the young man, on a personal level. But also, and Nick Easton is not the future at guard with this team. And you know that, Kyle. You've said it many times yourself. They've drafted Cesar Ruiz to be the starter sooner rather than later. In fact, it'll probably happen coming out of the bye week. You just re-signed Andrus Pete, who's 27, 28 years old. You just re-signed him to a 5-year contract. 3 years that you're pretty much guaranteed with. So unless one of those 3 guys have a long-term injury concern, no, I don't think you make a deal for a guard, for even an insurance policy, because they have some depth there, especially now with James Hurst coming back from the suspended list.
Okay. What do you make of Marcus Hunt not being re-signed by the team?
I was a little bit surprised because Marcus Hunt gave this team some good snaps. When especially when Davenport was on the sideline, both on special teams and defensive line. And we wish him the luck. He re-signed with the Bengals, if I'm not mistaken. But again, that's a testimony to how deep this defensive line is. They can afford to wave goodbye to talented players like Marcus Hunt, Taylor Stallworth. They can afford to have a guy like Malcolm Roach, inactive for a game after a torrid start to the season. And Shai Tuttle, I think, has only been active for 2 games. And we know what a strong year he had, last season. So you hate to lose a player like Marcus Hunt, but again, if you're going to keep him, you have to move on from someone else in the defensive line. He just as good moments as he's had, this year, he wasn't outplaying anybody else on that defensive line that I could see.
Okay. When I was in the press conference with Marshawn Lattimore made reference to the media not knowing exactly what they're talking about as far as understanding the game and understanding playing the game and not understanding, I guess, some of the nuances of coverages and things to that nature, right? So I just saw a comment by Benja talking about Aaron Glenn. No, Benja, Aaron Glenn does not need to go. And let me tell you why. Aaron Glenn is a great coach, but sometimes and I heard Charlie Weiss talk about this on Sirius XM. As a coach, you do hold the final responsibility when things go wrong, right?
Yeah.
But he says if there's something that is being said or communicated and the players keep making the same mistakes, is that a coaching communication error or is it a player not listening error? Or both?
Well, and I've been both. I've been player and I've been coach. And as a coach, I would say it's the player's fault. And as a player, I would say it's the coach's fault. But it is a combination of the two. But the ultimate accountability has to lie with the player on the field. And Marshawn Lattimore, if you're listening, if you're watching, you know I'm a big fan of you, and I have been since Ohio State. And you also would know, if you checked your messages, that I have reached out to you several times to come on to this show. Talk to a couple of your former teammates, Arthur Millette, Lyndon Stevens, and a current teammate in Keith Washington, and a couple former Saints too. Kyle Mosley and myself would welcome you onto this show anytime you want to come on and talk about anything that you want. Anytime you want. We would love to know what's going on with you, the player, on the field. You're right. Kyle Mosley, myself, other writers, we don't know exactly what it's like to be an NFL cornerback. Well, part of our responsibility is to bring to the public what we see, and we aren't completely devoid of intelligence. We have had ties to this game on some level, and we watch film, we analyze, and we learn from talking to your colleagues and to your former colleagues. So again, I would love to have you. Kyle would love to have you on this show. I don't blame players for kind of lashing out at the media. But listen, I just got done saying the ultimate accountability for a W or an L, it lies with you, my friend, not with us.
Interesting. All right, let's move on. All right.
I just made a new friend, maybe, huh?
Yeah. Many new friends. Many new friends today, Bob.
But listen, no, I mean, seriously, we've had Keith Washington on here. We've had Lyndon Stevens on here. I think that we are, and we've had a number of former and current players. We are very player friendly. So Marshawn, I would love to have you on the show. I love your game. I think that you are one of the top, if not the best, one of the best cornerbacks in the game. And I've written about those exact words in every single article that you are mentioned in. So if you want to come on and lash out at the media, or you want to come on and explain to us what we are or are not seeing, I would love it. I really would. And I don't mean that any disrespect in that whatsoever.
Okay. All right, cool. Invitation granted. All right. Received? Don't know. So anyway, we'll go from there. All right, Paul T. Lattimore better be turning it on. Where is Rankins? Rankins has been filling in. He's been doing his job. He's been coming off the bench, mostly in the rotation, defensive side. Armstead's hand, might be just a little hit, and I don't think that's going to stop him from being able to play on Sunday. I think Jenkins and Williams may be the real issues. Which Jenkins are we talking about, Paul? Are we talking about Malcolm Jenkins or Janoris Jenkins? Which Williams are we talking about? Marcus Williams or the other Williams? Whatever. I think let's look at it like this. I have been surprised that Malcolm hasn't made more plays, but I haven't been surprised Marcus hasn't made more plays. Does that make sense?
It does, and I know you've expressed concern over Marcus Williams for the last year and a half to 2 years now.
What's puzzling is he's a great, talented guy.
Yes, he is.
Okay, all right. So I don't understand how these guys, even at this level, keep looking into the backfield at the quarterback and allowing a speedy wide receiver to go past you. I never understood that. When I was covering a guy, I was covering that guy. I didn't care if that guy's eye is looking up, then I knew the ball was possibly coming the way. Right? So anyway. So
well, Kyle, if I may interrupt, that's exactly the kind of discipline that you were speaking about before I made a WWE type challenge to Marshawn Lattimore. That isn't coaching right there. Aaron Glenn isn't telling these people, hey, Patrick Robinson or hey, Marcus Williams, stand in one spot and keep your eyes on the defensive backfield. Like you pointed out, you as a defensive back, me as a defensive back, we had our assignments, and particularly in one-on-one coverage, our assignments were on the guy that we were lined up across from. And to keep your eye or get burned because you're cheating or have your eye on the opposing backfield, that's a lack of discipline. That's all there is to it.
Yeah. All right. let's move on, guys. All right. So right now the Saints are 3-2, and if they defeat the Panthers on Sunday, they'll be 4-2, and they still own the tiebreaker against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the moment. Correct. So Tampa Bay looks like everybody is still falling at the feet of Mr. Thomas, Edward Patrick, Brady Jr., and just gushing over his great performance over Aaron and the Green Bay Packers. Again, I'm going to go back to what I said to Schuyler earlier in our conversation. A lot of teams that have been playing up to this point, you're starting to see certain teams, you're going to see some tail offs. You're going to see some guys fall, through the cracks. And the Saints should not have lost that game against the Packers. Okay? I believe that was a winnable game still, even though, we got food here and there and all this other stuff, right? Still was a winnable game. Now, Tom Brady played a good game, very good game. I'm not going to discredit his game on Sunday, but that defense, oh my goodness, that's what everybody in the National Football League should be more concerned about, the defense and not the Tampa Bay offense. Am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. And I've mentioned it to a couple of people that I've talked to as well. You and I, when we talked about the Bucs leading up to the season and going into the season opener, we both knew how much talent, and we commented on how much talent they had in the front seven. But they are deeper than what I thought in the front seven, and continue to play really well, even with the loss of Vita Vea. What I find so shocking is how well that secondary has been playing as a unit, Tampa Bay secondary. Now Antoine Winfield was a favorite of yours coming into the draft, and I knew how talented he was coming out of Minnesota, certainly with the NFL bloodlines. But he's an early candidate for Defensive Rookie of the Year. And man, he has single-handedly changed that entire secondary. But the whole unit has been playing so well above themselves.
Well, I'm gonna say this, Bob. The one thing our team, New Orleans Saints, has always had a problem with is speed on defense.
Yep. In
the front seven, especially with linebackers.
Yep.
Remember when the Carolina Panthers had a good linebacking core where Davis and those guys, and not Klein, what's this guy, got the concussions, Luke Kuechly and those guys, right? Front sevens give the Saints problems. The Vikings did it to the Saints as well, right? So that's what concerns me. If this front seven keeps gelling and they can stay relatively healthy, how the Saints are going to be able to defend against those guys coming and playing outside in Tampa later this year is going to be an issue. Now, what the Saints cannot afford to do is keep losing NFC games, right? And put themselves in a position where if we are neck and neck with the Buccaneers toward the end of the season, lose a tiebreaker because of a loss of an NFC game or here or there, especially our own South Division, right? And then have to face those guys in Tampa. That's the problem I have, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's what makes games like this against the Panthers so vitally important. It's a very winnable game for New Orleans on paper. And we're gonna see the Saints go up against more formidable foes again on paper. As the weeks progress, we know that they're gonna play Kansas City. We know they have San Francisco on the schedule, Chicago on the schedule, a rematch with Tampa Bay. So that, like you said, you have to win these conference games, and you really have to win your divisional games, especially at home. And that's why and you and I have commented both publicly and privately on this. The Saints now have an opportunity to show us. They got off to a slow start to the season, slower than what a lot of us thought they would. They now have a chance to regroup after a bye and come out of their bye week flexing the muscle of a Super Bowl contender. It's time to now show us whether you're a Super Bowl contender or pretender.
Yeah. And I think that's with a lot of teams right now. These next 4 to 5 games, you'll know who are the real contenders and those who are just pretending early on in the season. And Devin White, I agree, Paul, is scary good.
Yeah.
Scary good, man. Scary good. All right. Okay, Bob, any last questions, comments, thoughts before we wrap up?
Well, we have our game prediction. Schuyler gave us his, and I know you and I have a few game preview articles yet to come. Through the end of the week, through the remainder of the week, rather. But honestly, I agree with what a lot of the things that Schuyler said. I'm not sure how Carolina is going to defend New Orleans. But if they do indeed play off coverage, I see Drew Brees and Alvin Kamara just eating that kind of defense up alive. And as long as New Orleans can stop Mike Davis and that Carolina passing attack, and that secondary can step it up against two scary receivers in DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson, I can't see the Saints running away with this one. New Orleans needs to come out aggressively on both sides of the football, but I think that they will. I think that this team has a chip on their shoulder. The media, local and national, have been down on them a little bit. And those guys in that locker room, coaches and players both, they have ears to that kind of thing. So I'm going to go with the Saints by a score of 38-21. I think the Saints are going to have a really strong performance in this one.
38-21 Saints win, says Bob Rose. All right. Well, Bob, I'm going to do you one better, man. I got the Saints 41-24. Okay. And I just think the second half is going to be the issue for the Saints. If they get able to maintain the run, stick with the run the ball some more, run the ball all the time. Is there a theme I'm starting to have? Look, I think the run can really help the Saints. It may be a little bit closer in the game, but I think that could be the issue for the Carolina Panthers. I was very surprised how poorly they played last game, but it showed me they have a problem if a team can stop the run, and the Saints can stop the run. So that's why I think the Saints are going to really win big in a dome with 3,000 fans.
Make some noise, folks.
Yeah. Paul T says he has the Saints 30-24. All right, Paul. I like that. Jerry, what you have the Saints at 35-21 against the Panthers. All right. So they're going to score all touchdowns. All right, Jerry. I feel you, man. Look, guys, we shall have the pregame show with John Hendricks and Brendan Borland, and we're going to have the halftime show with myself and Bob Rose during the game live. So stay tuned to that. We should have our rolled in for the halftime show right after, probably a minute or two after halftime commences. So expect us to do that. But also, guys, don't forget, go to si.com/NFL/Saints for the latest in New Orleans Saints news, brought to you by John Hendricks, Bob Rose, Brendan Borland, Dr. Carla Antoine, and myself, Kyle T. Mosley, and also Mike Detillier. Also, guys, do not forget, you can follow Bob Rose on the World Wide Web at
everywhere. You go to Facebook and find BOBROSE. That's me, Mr. Bob Rose.
Rose.
I can be found on Twitter at BobbyR2613. Obviously, the best way to find my articles is on the SI.com Saints team page. But I also stream everything through both my Twitter and Facebook personal accounts, as well as all of our works, Kyle's, John's, and myself, all of ours at Saints News Network, through the Bayou Blitz Facebook page. A very, very interactive Facebook group. A lot of them are, but we're a little bit partial to our family there. If you're already a member of the Bayou Blitz Facebook page, thank you for all the work that you do and for making us look so pretty. And if you're not a member of the group, please reach out to one of us and send us an invite. I promise you won't regret it. You'll have fun. Your voice will be heard. And we're going to have a few giveaways on here, the Bayou Blitz show, through that group as the season progresses.
Good stuff. And let's see. We're also going to stream our halftime shows live on Facebook and the Who Dat Domination group, as well as the New Orleans Saints group, which is the oldest and largest Facebook group catering to the New Orleans Saints. All right. Paul T, you stay safe and COVID-free as well. Thank you for being with us this evening. And don't forget, guys, you can follow me at KT Mose. That's KTMOZE on Twitter. And also you can be able to go to our YouTube channel and subscribe there. Paul T and Jerry, you guys tell all your friends to kind of tune in and subscribe to our channel. Guys, this past week, Bob was on with Big Q, and those guys at what's it, Coma? Well,
yeah,
they have a good PRO Coma, wherever. I mean, they have some good stuff, man. Good show. Bob did a great job. Thank you for repping the Saints News Network, man. That was pretty cool. And don't forget, you can follow us at Saints News on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and we'll go from there. This is Kyle T. Mosley here with Bob Rose at the Bayou Blitz, as well as the Saints News Network. Guys, you guys have a great, safe weekend, and who dat, baby? Let's have a great on Sunday. Take care.